It's Graham here from the Vintage Guitar Players group. You can find us on facebook.com/groups/the Vintage Place. We're here for another instalment of Vintage Legends, and this is the first one this year, so thank you for joining us. If you want to find us on Instagram, we are at 95 Vintage Legends, and we'd love you forever if you hit subscribe below and give us a little like. Today, we are here with Robert Mills, Lord Haler from the Halers, who isn't actually hailing from California by the sound of things, but you guys are based there, I understand?
I am hailing from California, yeah.
Despite the accent.
I'm hailing from Southern California, and it's sunny out.
Well, very much appreciated you joining us here today, because it must be, about noon by you guys' time, about 8 o'clock here in sunny Glasgow, where it's not been sunny all day, but it's nice and cloudy tonight. But Alison, thank you for joining us today, very much appreciated.
Great, appreciate it.
If you don't mind, to get things kicked off, if you could tell us a bit more about the Halers, the music you play in your own words.
The music we play is for everyone. It's like very familiar, even though it's original. It's a sort of a blend between like all of my favorite bands growing up as a kid, that influenced, my playing and stuff. And so, it's quite eclectic, but it comes out, as a mixture of, think of some bands that would sound like Rolling Stones, man.
The worst.
Sprinkle a bit of Pink Floyd in and a bit of AC/DC in and, a bit of Bad Company, and you get the picture,
I like the picture. It sounds good.
Yeah, I could go on. There's a lot of influences, obviously.
It's not a bad thing. It's an eclectic mix of everything can produce some interesting results, and I suppose that's what we're all about.
Yeah.
And
results.
And with the vintage side of things, then how did you stumble upon vintage in the first place?
Well, I was working with a bass player, Tom Lilly, who's now with Beth Hart, and he got an endorsement with Vintage. And I was also working with Trev Wilkinson, and he cued me into a new line and introduced me to Dennis Drum at JHS. And I just instantly, as soon as I picked up the guitar and tried it, I just loved it, the V6. And so they gave me an endorsement, like an artist endorsement, and off I went. And then I tried the B52, the Telecaster, which was phenomenal as well. So I had to have one of them. And then the Lemon Drop, which is like the greenie, model.
A fraction.
Yeah. Well, just amazing, right? So I've got those three, and they pretty much taken control of my life. I only use those three guitars. They're all in the studio, actively being used, all the time, or live, and I've got my V6 in the corner there.
There.
Yeah.
Is that one of the road worn ones as well?
Yeah, it's the Icon.
Yeah.
Road one.
Yeah, the gorgeous guitars. And
yeah, they did a great job on it. Fantastic.
I would say as well, I know obviously from previous discussion that you've got a whole lot of other guitars as well. So what makes you play or endorse vintage?
Well, I just love it, and they compare with all the other guitars. They stand up. It's not like a downgrade, I mean, I used to like a Squier, but I'd have to put better pickups. I'd put some of Trev's pickups in it, and it had a different sound and feel to the American Strat. But in my opinion, the American Strat was better, right? So when I got the Vintage, I compared it with my American Strat and went, holy shit, it's like a clone, right? So I just love them. They're very, very, they're set up really well. The action's great on them. The tone is great. You know, they stay in tune, everything. And I don't need to tell you the price is fantastic. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I think as well, though, if nothing else, yourself, price is one thing, but if you guys are using them, for gigging and stuff, they've got to be, like reliable. They've got to be the part recording and gigging, and it doesn't help to have
yeah,
a cheaper guitar that's more kind of effective and cost wise and a bit more friendly in the pocket, but doesn't hold up to what it needs to do in the studio, or especially if you're playing live or something.
yeah. Well, I've got no complaints. I mean, it hasn't had any problems. I haven't had to take it in to get it fixed or anything. It's truly road worn, and I use it all the time. So yeah, it gets the 10 out of 10 from me. And the Les Paul version, the Lemon Drop, as I said, and the Telecaster version, the B52, is phenomenal. So
Any favourites
there you
between
go.
the three?
It's tough. I mean, I've never really been a Tele person, but this thing is definitely calls to me, and it's definitely got some mojo, you know. And I've used it live. I've used it more, right? It's increasingly kind of pulling me in that direction, you know. And
Is
the
it for,
V6 keeps going, no, you two-timing bastard. No. And between the two, and then the lemon drop is just like fantastic. Just whatever I plug that into, it just sounds like just amazing.
I think as well, given that, as you say, you've got so many different influences that are going to be, heard when you're listening to stuff, by the halos that you guys are writing and playing, it is nice to have that kind of variation in different sounds between a kind of Strat and a Tele kind of sound, a kind of a single cut kind of sound and such as well. But especially if, like you say, you've got some influences with the Stones and all sorts of stuff like that, it's a very different sound to, AC/DC or something. So it's good to, be able to switch up to have that kind of variety, I suppose, live as well, and
Yeah,
makes a difference.
yeah.
Modifications wise, for the guitars you've obviously had the vintage. Have you had any modifications? Would you do any modifications?
I haven't, and quite honestly, I scratch my head when I see, people saying they're changing the pickups. I'm thinking, well, I wonder what they're changing the pickups for and why they didn't like the pickups, because the pickups are great. I mean, everything about them is just, what could you want? It's like it's just, I don't have words to describe how great they sound. They're balanced, they don't squeal, they got a great tone, so I'm very happy,
I know,
you know.
full disclosure, obviously we'd been kind of talking before the interview, and it's one of these things that when it comes to pickups, you do get a lot of folk who they'll listen to something going, they're a bit hot for me, roll off the gain a bit in your amp, well, maybe they could be a bit hotter, like raise them a little bit, turn the gain up a little bit. How do you like that? It's going to save you having a new set of pickups, because again, all the vintage guitars I have behind me there, every bit of them's stock with the exception of push pull pot on a couple of them to go to single coil for coil tap. That's pretty much it. But yeah, modifications wise, like you say, it's nice just to pick up something and go awesome, plug and play.
It's true, and I shared the story with you that when I was at the NAM, we got asked to play in the GoPro booth, which is like this isolated foam room, 20 by 20. And I asked to borrow the V6 off the shelf, right? And plugged it in, and it sounded exactly like the one I've got. And we had an amazing session. And I was like, oh, I want this one as well. I really do need a backup. I had to talk myself out. You know, I had to give the guitar back and it, so you know, but just off the shelf, it sounded amazing. So, you know, you don't get that very often. And the amp, you know, knowing how to set up your amp is part of the problem here, you know.
Yeah.
So I think
this is more
play
sort
with
of
the amp first. Yeah.
Crank that master and let a little bit off again. It's
Roll the game back.
It's more than half the battle. Well, in terms then of, let's just say, you know, your kind of dream vintage, or if you were to get a pro shop made up, or I don't know if you would like a kind of Lord Haler signature model, what do you think you would like to see for that? Because let's be honest, you've got 3 different shapes of guitar here, so this is probably quite a question. Which one would you decide upon for a signature model?
Well, we're already there. You know, it's funny because this is the guitar, you know, that Trev built for me, right? And that's it. I don't want anything more than that. You know, it's got no fancy switches on it. This last knob makes this single coil, and if I turn it on full, it's humbucker, and then it's split 5-way switch between the humbucker and the single coil. You get that David Gilmour sound, right? And then the other one is like Dire Straits between these two. And this is the guitar I use all the time. And so, yeah, years ago, I had a Fender, you know, I think it was like 1985. And Trev put that together for me with the Jeff Beck roller nut and his Wilkinson whammy bar. And that was the guitar. That was like the setup with the hot pickup in the bridge. And so when he showed me this, I was like, oh, that's my guitar. So if I was custom ordering something, you know, that's what I'd probably pay a lot extra to get. And it's there off the shelf. So it's fantastic.
That's pretty easy an ask then.
It is. It means I don't have the stress of worrying about losing it, right? Or going somewhere and not having a guitar. I can always call up and they send me a guitar. I know it's going to be fine and do the job. So that's the perfect thing. I mean, obviously we all have like fantasy guitars, and they did do a guitar called a Zip.
Yeah.
I don't know why it never took off, but it was like a little Les Paul Jr. kind of style.
Yeah, punky little numbers.
2 little lipstick pickups on it. And it was just something about the design that it looked fantastic. I was like, oh man, I want one of them. Can't have one. Why not? Well, they were only prototypes. They only made 5 or something. So
yeah, they made them. That was, I think that was around about 2006 or 2007 or something. They made them.
Yeah.
What I'll try and do with the magic of video editing is, if you look here, you'll see a picture of a Zip. For all those curious, just
that's right.
Here.
Yeah.
But
Zip here.
That's the one. Bling. But yeah, those are pretty.
Well, if
cool
you could
numbers.
magically edit it into my room next to this guitar, that would be really good.
See
I
that.
At least have a play of it and, you know, see what I think.
See the letter. I can get hunting on eBay for one for you later tonight. That's fine. We'll sort something.
Have a look. That's brilliant.
But yeah, no, the Zips, they were pretty cool because they came out in all sorts of colours. Like there was a red one, a kind of sparkle black one, was it sparkle black, a gunmetal metallic or something? There was a yellow one, blue one,
silver one. There's a silver sparkle and a black sparkle. Those are the 2 main ones.
That's the one. There was the pink one, the yellow one, the red one, the blue one. I remember these now. This is taking me back to about when I first got a vintage, which is about 2009, I think it was. So yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting.
So basically, either a replica of what you've got, or we'll get you a signature Zip, is what you're basically saying.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think that Trev built this for me anyway. I just don't want my name on it. I think that's a bit naff. You know, I could always put it on with a black marker pen. You know, no.
Silver Sharpie. There you go.
Yeah.
That sounds absolutely fair. No, you're meant to be more demanding with these things. So if you're thinking of custom guitars and such, be demanding. You know.
Yeah, right.
Well, in terms then of music, things like recording gigs, what have you guys got coming up?
Well, we're working on new material, right? We're rehearsing for some shows that are coming up. So we're doing a big open air concert here, May 6th, Saturday, May 6th, in the afternoon, which is nice. You
Cool.
know, they got a big JBL PA, and it's for Relay for Life. It's for a charity. They do like a long walk, I think it is,
Cool.
and the money goes to cancer. And we record all the time. I mean, I have a little studio in my garage, you know, that I lovingly call Tonehenge. The name of my studio.
I like it.
Yeah, don't stub your foot on that rock, you know. Anyway, so yeah, we're working all the time, you know. So and I'm posting up. We've got a gig coming up with Pure Prairie League at the Canyon Club. That's a nice venue here in Los Angeles. Again, with a nice PA and lights. So we just turn up with backline and away to go.
Backbreaking turn up, you know.
And I'll post, if you see any photos of me, I'm pretty much using this V6 and all the gigs. And if I pick it up and play it, I don't usually change out, you know, my guitar. So that's the main squeeze, you know.
That's pretty awesome. And in terms of, you know, finding you guys, whereabouts can we, you know, kind of have a look? You know, have you got whereabouts in social media and such can we find you?
Pretty much all of it's on the website, thehalers.com.
That's cool. I shall make some little things.
So that'll pop up here, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Just above my head.
Just above your head.
Halers.
That's the one.
Halers.com. www.thehalers.com.
I shall make that happen. Right above your head. That'll show up here. The one thing I have to say though, before we part ways, is that now that you've told me the name of your studio, I feel that you should go all full Spinal Tap and have a 12-inch Stonehenge.
It's actually 18 by 18. Remember, he put 2 strokes instead of just one. So instead of 18 feet, it was 18 inches. I love that when they go, should we do that number? And they lower it down and they're like looking like, what the fuck is that? And it just goes down into the mist. Brilliant.
I think we need one of them for your studio. That and some amps, they go up to 11.
Yeah. No, I do have a light-up sign that says torture chamber.
Well, there you go.
There's warnings, you know.
And
but it's a padded room, you know. I got it tuned. I've got some bass traps in there, and I've got these special blankets. And when I first did it, I put too many of these blankets up, and it became anechoic. So you could go in there and you clap your hands, and you wouldn't hear any sound. You'd go, oh, that's weird. So
welcome to the vacuum.
I took a few off, you know, and then suddenly the drums, you know, come to life. They go, the drum corner, we strip them away. Yeah. And then I took one more, and now I put it back up, and I went, yeah, fold it in half. Put it back up and go, that's tuned now, perfect. So we can go in there, like 5, 6 of us, and rock out with the amps cranking, and it sounds great. So it's inspiring to play in there, you know, because as you know, you get to play on stage and you've got to deal with dialing monitors in, you know, and then if you run across the stage, you're not hearing the amp the same, you know, so you've got to get used to that environment. But being in it's almost like being inside a Marshall cabinet, you know, just compressed sound, everything sounds great, nothing too harsh, you know, and it all just melds together.
Head blown clean off.
Yeah, that's right.
Man. Well, listen, let me say thank you very, very, very much for coming along today and for your time. It's been a pleasure to speak to you. It's been a pleasure to hear a bit more about, obviously, like I say, the music and your kind of interactions with vintage as well. So thank you very, very much, and enjoy your weekend, Robert. All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much.